And welcome back to a fresh episode of the Business Growth Show. I'm your host, Sam Dunning, co-owner over at webchoiceuk.com. And if you haven't done so yet, check out our weekly email where I'm sharing actionable website and marketing tips, useful podcasts, free resources, and much, much more each and every Monday to kick off your week with a bang. Why not give it a trial over at businessgrowth.email. So joining me today, I've got Johan Abadie. Johan's SVP of Marketing over at Mediafly. He's also a trained chemist who has turned a marketer. Johan, welcome to the show, sir. How's it going?
I'm good, doing great. Thank you for having me.
No worries, man. So looking forward to this one. We're going to be chatting all things demand creation versus demand capture. Something I always enjoy chatting about, especially when we stream these episodes live on LinkedIn, because I know there's many in B2B, service-based, SaaS-based, tech-based industries that love harping on about demand creation, demand generation all day long. And then when you start talking about demand capture, everyone seems to go quiet. Why that is, I don't know. Perhaps you'll prove me wrong. Perhaps you'll say what I'm saying is nonsense. I'm excited either way to jump in. So first and foremost, let's set the scene, Johan. What is the difference between demand creation and demand capture?
I think I got started. It's not my analogy, but I heard Chris Walker once discuss the promotion of toothpaste, and
Okay.
he was saying before we started using or having sugar in our diet very regularly, there was no such a thing as toothpaste. People didn't brush their teeth very regularly. Then it started. You had to make people aware of the problem that they had with their teeth rotting if they didn't clean them, and then you had to promote your solution for that problem, but without educating the market, no one would have bought toothpaste. So it's all about education. It's all about creating awareness about the problem first and letting people know how they can solve the problem going forward. So that's demand creation for you.
Gotcha. So creating awareness around a
Correct.
problem that you're offering, your solution, your product can fix or can solve.
Correct.
Gotcha. And what would you say is demand capture as a quick
Demand
snapshot?
capture. Once there is awareness, once people are looking for this, when they are looking for it, when they are showing their intent to purchase, then you have to get front and forward and get them to want to buy from you, and that's demand capture, and that's Google Ad, social media can allow you to do that. But then there is intent. It's a very different motion there.
Yep. So talking about two different things, right? We're talking about creating awareness of some kind of problem, some kind of issue that you might fix with your product, with your solution over time to build up that demand for your service, or we're talking about actually capturing the demand when there's someone already knows they've got something they need help with. They know they need your offering. They might not necessarily know your brand, but then they're capturing that kind of intent or that desire for whatever you sell.
Correct. And you said something important is they have to be aware of your brand. Are you going to buy something? Are you going to buy from a brand you have never heard of? It's very rare, especially in the B2B space. So the awareness piece is not only awareness about the problem, it's awareness about the solution that your brand offer to solve the problem.
Yeah. Do you think that's like super? Do you think that is really important in where we are now, time of recording 2022? Do you think most B2B buyers need to be aware of your organization or your brand to actually have trust to purchase your stuff?
Absolutely. How do you buy? Think of it. Think of the way you buy, whether it's a recommendation from someone you know, or whether you have seen. And this is. I read a great book called Method of Persuasion. We have this way of thinking and this way of acting that is beyond even our control. The reptilian brain is a fabulous thing for a marketer when used correctly. If something is top of mind for you, you're going to try to address it here and there. So if the problem is top of mind and a brand is top of mind, your first reflex is going to go to that brand. If a problem is top of mind, I am talking to Sam, and Sam is, I think you should check this out. What are you going to do? You're going to go check out the recommendation that was given to you. So brand is one of the main challenge that all marketers have. You have to develop your brand one way or the other.
Mm. Mm. So I'll give some scenarios in a minute that I want to play devil's advocate on.
Mhm.
But which do you think is more important for companies to focus on, actually building demand or capturing?
It very much depends at what stage you're in.
Okay.
If you are one of the top dog in the space, you have cash to spend. Well, you can go ahead and educate the market. This is great. If you are more of the underdog and you have less resources available, and less resources is less cash, less bodies to do the work, then I think that you have to be more opportunistic, and you have to capture the demand whenever you can. It's shortest path of resistance, if you will. Building a brand takes time,
Mm.
takes resources, it takes money, it takes people. It's even the right people, a lot of money might not build the type of brand that you are looking for. It's just very, very hard to do. If there is a book on this that solves all of these problems for all marketers, send it over, because I've not found it yet.
So you're saying, depending on the stage of the organization, if they're quite early stage, you think they should focus on actually capturing demand, so capturing people that are already aware that they have an issue and they might be searching for kind of your service or your
Correct.
offering. Whereas if you're later stage, then does that mean if you're later stage, you just focus on creating demand, you ignore demand
No, you have to
capture?
do both. You have to do both. And most good companies understand this, obviously. And you
Sure.
because this is the funnel. I don't like the funnel very much, but it's a very good representation of how marketing teams are evaluated. But you have to be able to capture people early on in their buying cycle, and whenever possible, when they are lower down the funnel, you have to be able to get them as well. Your sales
Yeah.
cycle is going to be shorter if you catch them when they are ready to buy. Obviously, if you are one of the top players in the space, you will most likely be part of this buying cycle. But if you are not, well, make sure you are part of this evaluation. Give your team a chance. The other part that is important is when you do demand capture, people are supposedly more ready to buy, which means that when you send these leads or these prospects over to your sales team is going to see better chance of them meeting their quota, depending on your sales cycle, than someone that they have to educate and nurture for a while. So it's not just demand or creating demand versus capturing demand. It's all of the sales motion that is going to come and the marketing motion that will come behind what you're doing as well. If you have to do demand creation, you have to do a lot of education. You have to dedicate more resources. Your sales cycles are much longer, and you are not producing as quickly funnel for your pipeline. And all
Yeah.
marketing teams now are moving away from MQLs versus sales qualified opportunity.
Well, you say, oh, I know there's still plenty that still aren't.
But do you want to get early into the buying cycle so that you can help and also influence, obviously, the direction that they're going to take? Or do you want to try to come in later on and
Mm.
and basically differentiate uh, as well as you can to convince them that you should be part of that buying process? Different motion. Again, it depends, but I've done it with smaller companies.
Okay.
I would focus on demand capture because as a marketer, you have to show results very quickly. If you don't help create pipeline quickly, people lose faith, they lose patience. If your VCs want to show quarter over quarter results, then go after demand capture.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense, right? I mean, if you're building up demand, if over time you're educating the audience, you're sharing with them the problems you fix, you're sharing with them useful information, helpful tips, insights. So over time you're in the back of people's brains. So when they eventually need your offering, they know you. And then if they do say a Google search around your service. Even if they want to compare a couple vendors, you're probably still perhaps their vendor of choice because
Absolutely.
they've seen all of your stuff, whether that's on LinkedIn, whether that's YouTube, or wherever they're marketing to and wherever the audience hangs out. So I get that. And like you say, it's an interesting point. If you're just going after capturing demand, so perhaps you're doing things like review websites like G2 and whatever your industry relevant review site is, or Google Ads or SEO. So when people search for your offering who don't know your brand, then find your website, maybe request a demo or request a consult. Then I suppose you lose that edge whilst you can still capture the lead and you can get the sales conversation going. It's probably, I suppose, a little bit difficult for your sales team to actually close the deal because they haven't got that brand reputation. So it takes a bit more effort. The sales cycle is perhaps a little bit longer because the prospect isn't aware of you.
For sure. And they understand also the mindset, the human element to this is when you're helpful, you build trust and reciprocity. So people are going to give you more slack and are going to be will trust you more if you have been in full at some point within their sales cycle, and if it starts at the beginning, they will share more information with you. They will give you more opportunities to win that deal going forward. So super important. This reciprocity part is super important. And like I said, I had an interview with a potential SDR for our team yesterday.
Okay.
And I asked her, what do you think is the most important thing as an SDR?
What
And
do I think?
No, I asked her.
Oh, right. Okay.
In the interview, what do you think?
Yep.
Is the most important? I'll ask you if you agree or disagree with me after I tell you that. And she was, well, I think I have to be confident. I have to offer some solutions. She had good answers, but I was, well, the most important thing is them. You focus on them. You listen to them. This is the first thing. This is the first element that you have to master. It's all about them and what they are focused on and what they care about. Then you try to align this with what we are offering. But if your outlook is, I'm going to tell them my solution is awesome, I'm going to tell them how I can solve problems for
How
people.
great we are. Yeah.
Exactly, how great we are. If it's about you, it's not going to work out very, very well. And I told her it's very much like a date. If you talk about yourself, the person in front of you is going to be, yeah, I don't think this is a good match. Focus on them, care about them, listen to them, actively listen to them, and then you get a shot. I don't know. What do you think is the most important thing?
Yeah, I mean, I've been an SDR. So years ago, when we were building up this company and another company, I've set appointments kind of for myself, a sales team, and yeah, I'd agree to a certain extent. I mean, there's a few factors outside your control, I suppose. So things like making sure you've got decent data or leads or whatever you're going to follow up on, and then yeah, like you say, not focusing on how great your company is, which is marketing and sales 101, focusing on understanding what your prospect actually cares about. So what are like the three biggest bleeding neck pain points that your ideal customers care about fixing? So have conversations with the sales leaders, have conversations with the marketing team. What are the like 2 or 3 top biggest problems that you fix? Then in the first kind of 27 seconds of the call, after you've done like a permission based opener, then you can crack on and say, look, these are the kind of 3 main pain points we fix. Are these issues that you ever see in your world? And like if the prospect's like kicking back saying they're not, then probably not really a warm prospect. You only want to focus on people that actually have these kind of issues that you're going to resolve, and then you can see if it's worth the conversation, hand it over to an AE.
Very much so. Very
My
much so.
2 cents.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, data is important there. This is how you help your team. Intent data. Have they been on your website? Where did they go on your website? Then you can be more contextually relevant in your discussion for sure.
Cool. We digress. Right. Sorry. Back. No worries. Always good fun. I like talking sales. So we talked about kind of the difference between demand gen, difference between demand capture, and the fact that you believe kind of companies, depending on where they're at, perhaps if they're early stage, should look at demand capture. If they're later stage, should do demand building, demand creation, as well as capturing that demand that they've built. So let's perhaps look at a couple scenarios, Johan. Let's say
Mhm.
we are a B2B startup. Let's say we are in the tech space. Let's do some kind of software. Maybe we provide, what sector should we be in? We provide, let's say, finance, B2B software. It can be CRM, it can be whatever you want,
Mhm.
B2B based. And we need to get some fuel for our fire. We need to get some leads for our sales team. So, what are some of the first few things that we should do, in your opinion, to either should we be going for some demand creation channels or should we be going for some demand capture channels? What would be your kind of roadmap for a marketing leader for this organization as some of the first steps?
I would look at where is my audience, number one, trying to reach them there whenever I can. Um, the second thing that I would do is take a look at Google, do some SEO search with Google and Google Ads, and see who is there, who is present on this subject, in this space. And I would, rather than looking at keywords, I would look at brands.
Okay.
I would go after brands. Why? Because people are always brand aware, are already brand aware. So when people are solution and brand aware, they're further down the funnel.
Right.
So I should be able to capture demand, going after them. Now I have to differentiate myself from these people. So an example would be, let's call, company Acme Financial giving you a
Yep.
software for your solution. You look at Acme Financial competitors, Acme Financial alternatives,
Hmm.
and you bid on these keywords, and you see the volume that you are getting from this, and within a couple of weeks, you should be able to see whether or not you have enough volume, and if you are converting on the page you are sending people to. That's what I would do.
Okay. Okay. Let's just break that down a little bit. The first point, did you say who your audience is and where they hang out?
Hmm.
Any
Yeah.
tips for defining that from your experience?
I do a lot. So you have a lot of podcasts that I would sift through, and LinkedIn. And if you are small,
Yep.
go after some smaller podcast or an influencer in one of these podcasts and sponsor their show. I mean, they're going to do it for a few $100, and you're going to get not only some awareness with the persona you're going after,
Okay.
but then you will leverage word of mouth from these people.
Yep.
Let them do the talking. Yeah, the great marketers get other people to say how great they are. Because if I tell you I'm great, nobody's going to believe me. Plus, I'm French, so it's not going to happen. We'll think we're great. But if it comes from a third party, then you have
All right.
some real validation there. It just takes a little longer. It's
Yeah.
just more a long-winded play.
Are you saying like go on industry specific niche podcasts, like look to sponsor those?
Yeah,
So if there was like a small
yeah,
finance based one,
exactly.
go after that.
Yeah. And you can do you're making some small bets. You're not spending tens of thousands of dollars doing it. It's a
Yeah.
few $100 here and there, and they trust already that person. They're listening to that podcast, and you can do the same with mailing list too.
Mm.
So
That's nice. Yeah, I've not really thought about. I don't think we've talked about that much on the show. So going after niche little podcasts in the sector. Interesting. Okay. Any other ways that you found useful to define exactly who you want to target as a ideal client? Not necessarily marketing to them, but
well,
any.
intent. I
Okay.
leverage intent a lot. So if you have a service that allows you to get some intent data, then go after them. One of the analogies that I take with my team all the time is, try to sell me diapers. Good luck. My kids are out of diapers, and they have been for a few years now. Doesn't matter how good of a deal you give me, I'm not going to buy diapers. So if you can get intent data, if you can do it right, and doing it right means you filter out the noise. It's not because someone from a company went to a web page with the keywords you are tracking that they are in market. But if you can get first, second, third party intent, um, go after these companies. The signals should indicate for you that your team should probably go after them. So work on
Okay.
that. Hopefully that makes sense, right? First party intent, they came on your website. Second party intent is G2, trust radius, one of this in the B2B space, obviously. And third party intent, you know, the Bombora of the world and Zoom Info,
Okay.
ABM platform, that's 6sense. My
Gotcha.
guess is with early stage, you might not have the means to get 6sense set up, but go after this. Try to go medium to bottom funnel as much as possible. Really
All
put
right.
focus on that.
How is that typically what you'd provide with your sales team, like the SDR team, maybe to do outreach on email or cold calling and things like
Correct. And we try to, one of my dreams is no more cold calling.
that?
When you call them, you have heard of them, and this is the omni-channel approach. So you are defining who is in market based on intent, and you prioritize these accounts because you know that there is some interest. We know the personas and the departments that are probably interested in that or looking into it, and we get our SDR team to reach out to them with a sequence that is omni-channel. So social media, email, phone calls, and on the top of that, our team will do digital advertising to them, targeted digital advertising to them. And the advantage of this, um, you know, everyone hates cookies, but as a marketer, you leverage cookies. Someone comes on your website. Now they are brand aware. Now they have to be, what is it that we can do for you? So your market retarget to them with some case studies, some some references that
Mm.
that are tied to what you can do for them, specifically for them, and hopefully they want to talk to you.
We're going off topic quite a bit, but I don't mind because I think this is quite interesting. I think this is also useful for people that want to scale an organization fast. So I was talking to someone the other day about this actually. Funny enough, I was talking to them about SEO and the fact that they were spending a ton of cash on the old predictable revenue model. So having SDRs drop, because typically B2B tech companies just love hiring SDRs. They'll spend crazy money on sales reps right at the top of the funnel to generate those appointments, feed them through to account executives. Hey, I get that. If it works well, fair enough. But then when it comes to investing in digital marketing, they just seem kind of that the budget goes from massive to
Yeah.
absolutely tiny. But from your experience, what should be the split between an outbound motion, so hiring SDRs, because that can be quite expensive, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to digital. So if we're talking about things like going after intent data, where we're talking about paid ads, which we'll talk about in a minute, or SEO, what do you think should be the split?
Well, I built that at Mediafly. So I we started the SDR team. It was a back and forth. We had SDRs and we didn't have NDR, and we got rid of SDR. And last year it was, well, if we want to scale, you know, just relying on your website. I mean, you build websites, you know that very, very well. But in the B2B world, it's not like we're selling potatoes. It's some of the solutions that you're offering are complex solutions.
Mm,
Just relying on self-service is just, it doesn't make sense in my opinion. There is so much you can convey through videos and guides and checklists and so on. So at some point, you have to remember that the sales motion is very much people selling to people. It's H to H. And when you are doing marketing, more often than not, you are doing one to many. And this message is not that personalized, not that optimized. So I very much see the SDR team as the extension of your marketing team. And they are the ones who will do the one to few, one to one. They are the ones who will personalize the messaging that you have blasting digitally to them ahead of time. So doing in the B2B space, in my opinion, doing strictly digital without having an SDR is probably a mistake. If you're selling a solution, a point solution that is super, super targeted with a very, very defined value prop, and the cost is, you know, $5 per user per month, then you can get away with it.
Hmm. What do
Yeah.
you think let's put it into perspective. So what do you think is, because from my experience, right, you have to have a reasonably high ticket offering, whether that's SaaS, a monthly subscription or annual subscription, whatever the heck you offer, to actually justify hiring SDRs. What do you think? What's your thought there? I.e., you need to be at 5K a month on your offer, otherwise SDRs are an absolute waste of time. Any
I think
thoughts
it's
there?
more. I think it's more LTV, the lifetime value of the accounts that you're getting. So you have to do some math there. Ultimately, is what is your customer acquisition cost, and what is your overall LTV? And in a company, if you are able to increase pipeline by 5 to 10% with an SDR, and do the math with your LTV, if your lifetime value for the customer increases year over year, then, you know, 80K OTE for an SDR is not going to look very, very bad. I think that
Mm,
you have to play the long game for this one. It's not, it's not how much did they produce today, is
yeah.
how much impact do you get overall when you add an SDR and a second SDR and a third SDR. I can tell you we're closing deals. There are 6 figures, sorry. So 6 figures, well over 100K, thanks to SDR reaching out to people with a personalized message. Doesn't matter which marketer you're talking to. If these people are able to do the exact same thing with fully digitally automated campaigns, I want them on my team tomorrow, like tomorrow, because that's a superpower. I
Mm,
don't think it works out that way.
mm. So do you still think, even if this is a B2B, perhaps non-funded startup in the finance space, perhaps they've got, let's say, not a massive budget, 10K a month or so for their
Mhm.
marketing spend, do you still think SDRs are going to be a go-to?
I would probably get an SDR. And if you are tight on cash, well, get abroad, outsource it. Don't add someone to your team where you have to pay all of the benefits. I mean, I hate to say this, but ultimately, you can get it done. You test it, you work out the kinks with someone that is outside, and then you scale it when you see it work.
This is good. I like this. I think you're one of the very few marketers that we have on. We've had a couple, but a lot of them are moving away from the SDR role and or trying to say that outbound sales is kind of dead in the water. But I'm with you. I'm all for multi-channel. I'm all
Yeah.
for outbound as well as inbound. I mean, ultimately, if, like you say, if you're testing something and it's actually working, and if it's driving real revenue over time after 6 months, 8 months, or 12 months, a decent test, then it makes sense to keep on as long as it is so.
All right, and I'll say also there is the perception. The only reason why I think most people will tell you SDRs don't work is it's very hard. Attribution. I mean, I use the A word. It's just terrible that I went there, but attribution is tough. And I remember using this analogy with a few people before, where I asked them, "Can you tell during the courtship with your future spouse, can you tell, point to one moment where this was it, that you knew that you would be together forever?" No, it was an interaction. It took several meetings. It took a lot of talk together. It took a lot of things to get to that relationship, to define that you both wanted to be with one another. It's the same thing with the interaction with a prospect. There are several touch points that do happen that make this relationship work going
Sure.
forward. What is
Yeah.
that touch point? Was it the SDR sending an email that was not open? By the way, most of them are not open. Was it them leaving a voicemail? Then they went on your website and went around, and you got them on the chat with your qualified or draft. How do you define this? So I think that this human to human interaction is getting lost more and more. If I was selling to an algorithm, then yeah, just go ahead and digitalize everything. Fine, it makes total sense. But in the B2B space, we're selling to human beings. We're selling to people who have emotions, who have needs, and these needs change from day to day. If you connect them with another human being who is listening, who is willing to actually try to help them move forward, and I think it's important. You don't want to sell; you want to help them. Then it works out. I don't know how to do that with tech, and God, I love tech. I love my tool, but I think the SDRs are the best way to do that. The other reason why I like SDR is at some point you are getting so many parameters in this equation. And again, I'm a chemist. I build supply chains, so I see very much this as a supply chain, right? You have so many touch points, and people can come to you at the very beginning of the buying cycle, but which how educated they are matters in the interaction. How aware they are of the market does matter. How fast they can learn does matter. And are they from sales? Are they from marketing? Are they from ops? If you have a solution that can be used by different departments and different personas, the equation becomes very, 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 very complex. I don't know how to create personalized interactions or that many personalized interactions and manage this over time. This is just too complex of an equation for me to solve with tech. Humans are still
Yeah.
the super or superhuman. They can pivot, they can adapt based on the signals that they are getting better than machines.
Yep. Yep. I'll give you my quick take on it, and then we'll move on to the next point. So this it's kind of interesting because the way I look at it is with demand creation and likewise with demand capture, I believe there's only so many people that you can do it to. So let's give you a case in point. So demand capture, there's only be so many. There's only like, I think the stat is there's only like 5% of people in your total addressable market that are solution aware.
Yeah.
Is it three to five? Yeah, something like that, something small. So they'll be going onto review sites. They'll be searching on Google for your product and offering, providing you're at the top. They'll click on your website. If your website can convert, you'll get the demo request. You'll get the consult request. You'll get the inbound lead. Fine. Likewise with demand creation, whatever channels your audience are on, if that's podcast, if that's LinkedIn, if that's YouTube, wherever you're building up your educational market, over time you're nurturing those people. Fine. That's only, again, a certain amount of people that are actually residing on those channels. But outbound, as much as I love, I mean, we sell websites and SEO, so I love inbound. That's what we do. But as much as I love that, there's people that aren't going to be doing those things, that have never heard of your brand, that don't actually know they're in the market for what you do. So that's where I believe outbound is effective, because you're basically saying, look, these are the problems we solve. And then some people think, oh, yeah, that problem does resonate with me. Starts a conversation, goes through the sales process. So yeah, I think when marketers say like outbound's dying or cold calling or cold email is just a surefire way to piss people off, yes, it's going to piss people off, but it's still going to generate revenue if you do it right, in the right way. So I still think we're at a stage in time where you can't just rule out outbound.
Correct. But I also think it's your overall philosophy has to be well defined when you do outbound. Just like you're single, you go into a bar and you scream, "I'm single, I'm ready right now, come to me." I mean, maybe it's going to work for a few, but I don't think it's the best way to present yourself. Again, if you help, if you educate, these people will come to you when they are ready.
Yeah.
And the SDRs can do a much better job than any digital campaign, I think, in my opinion, you can put together.
Is the way to educate people in a bar just to buy a round for everyone, or?
Exactly. When you scream at 2 a.m., "I'm single," after you got everyone drunk,
that might work.
Yeah.
That's one way of doing it, for sure. Cool,
Sure.
man. So we talked quite a bit. That was interesting in terms of kind of the audience, the capture. We went on a nice topic about outbound. Before that, you were talking about something that piqued my interest. You talked about doing a search for your offering. So in our case, we're talking about helping bring to market a B2B finance software. as a startup, and you said seeing what results come up when you search for the product or service, and then going after those brands. So were you talking about going after Google AdWords branded search,
Yes,
or okay,
very
does
much
that
so.
still work?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, I'm still getting leads every day from this. It works. So it's if the term is not too vague, so try the longer tail or the brand again, the brand searches. So brand X alternative, brand X competitor. People are really more down the funnel on this one. And how do you define that it works? Is volume, time on your site, and
Right.
overall conversion. So try
Yep.
it. Look at the terms that are popular, and if you and you can do it in Google Ads, right? You can see the number of the bounce rate. You can see the number of pages per session. You can see the time on site. You can see your impression share. You can
Hmm.
see how often you're on the top. If these numbers, for them, some of them you want low for obviously the bounce rate, but if these numbers do look good, it probably means that you're targeting the right audience. That's it.
Interesting.
Then
You
double
think
down.
that's one of the first things that brands should do?
This is the first. If you're a marketer, this is the first thing you should look at because this is when it's going to get you some funnel, some opportunities for you is the fastest.
Yeah.
It will. It's a lot harder to be even for you, Sam. I mean, if I see your ad on LinkedIn, I've never heard of you before. The likelihood of me being willing to buy right here and now after seeing your brand based on awareness is low. Now I'm looking for good. You know, people can say whatever they want. When you need something, a lot of people Google. They just do. That's what happens.
Oh yeah, I'm a
And
firm believer in that for sure.
you're capturing demand. It's not disruptive. It's contextually relevant right here and there.
Yeah.
So
Well, I still think because I come across it directly, right? I still run quite a lot of the sales element for our company.
mhm.
Even if you've built a lot of, even if you've built a lot of brand affinity with a prospect, even if they've been listening to your podcast, they've been following you on LinkedIn, people will still compare agencies. It doesn't
Absolutely.
necessarily then mean they're gonna like. There's a lot of marketers that say, "Oh, you build the demand, they're 100% going to buy with you." That's just not true. Some will,
Of course.
but some are still going to compare you with one, two, or three other vendors. They're going to go to
Of course.
G2. They're going to go to Google. They're going to like compare pricing, features, spec, all
For
that
sure.
good stuff.
For sure.
Um,
But think of it that way. Show me a company today that doesn't beat on their own brand name. If they are not, they are wasting a
good
ton
point.
of opportunities, and it's crazy. It's really annoying. I hate Google for having to build on my own brand,
Yeah.
but that's a reality.
Do you ever get pushback from competitors, like when you bid on other brands' terms, like other brands' names? Do you ever get like, because we have before, and we did it by accident. Like we literally didn't actually mean to bid on someone else's company name, and it
Yeah,
happened. And some company like wrote us an email saying, "How dare you bid on our brand name? You need to take it off within 24 hours, or we're filing a lawsuit." And I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's legal."
you can.
Plus, we didn't actually do it on purpose.
Yeah, no, but everyone does it. I
Mm.
mean, just look at Google,
Oh
look
yeah,
at your brand name, and look at the insights on who is coming up for
yeah.
your brand, and you get some pushback with them bidding more on their own keyword, and ultimately, I don't like it, but
The way it
one
is.
of the thing is when everyone does it, and when you see your term leading to leading to some pipeline, well, you have to do more of this, and think of it that way. Also, is you're going to bid on your own brand
Yep,
because Google will put ads ahead of search results.
it's true.
Our brains, our eyes are seeing this brand, and the next time that they are going on your site, they might go direct, or they might look for this is the brand search. Well,
Mm.
I'll use Mediafly. I'll
Mm.
use Chili Piper. And the attribution is even wrong on this one. They saw you through an ad, so they are typing your brand in the browser, and they are getting to your website, and it's And I saw this transition since last year, by the way.
Interesting.
My
Oh,
traffic through paid search went down. My traffic through direct and organic
yeah.
went up
What? Because of the ads?
because of the ads. I know it's the ads. It's not only the ads, but for sure. And you can test it very quickly.
I wonder
Stop
if there's
advertising.
some. I wonder if there's some general stats on the percentage of people that like build a build affinity, build like a liking towards a brand. So let's say a tech SaaS company that they're needing help with, and then type that in on Google, are just about to click the Google ad for that direct company, but then see like a competitor ad saying, "Oh, have you considered us? We're like 3 times faster to install. We're half the price, and we'll get you set up in like 2 hours." I wonder how many people then flick onto that ad and then inquire on both.
Isn't it your job as before you make a decision to look around and compare?
Hmm.
I
Interesting stuff, right?
so
Cool. So those were the first two things. What were some of the next steps, Johan, that you recommend? So we talked about kind of doing a niche audience stuff. Then we talked about doing branded ads. What are some of the next steps that you'd recommend?
ABM. So go target the companies that are very much like your delighted customers. Listen to the calls from your customers, what they like, what they don't like, and use their terms and go after people who are like them. And build there. You have to build awareness because most of them are already in market. But then you have a proxy for them. Hey, I've talked to X who is just like you in a similar space, and we have done A, B, and C for them. Want to know more? And tell them a story through ABM. The challenge with ABM is again cash, obviously, but if you don't target 20,000 companies, if you have SDR help, you can be pretty prescriptive in
Yeah.
how you approach these people.
Okay.
So quality over quantity there, but go after the one who are the most delighted by your offer, and the closest to the ones who are delighted by your offer, and you'll be able to scale some.
Okay. We won't go into ABM too much. We've got past episodes on account-based marketing. So if you just search Business Growth Show account-based marketing, you should be able to find some gems around that. Um, Are there any more points that you'd think initially, or are those your top 4 or 5?
Yeah, I would also go after the OCNC, old customers, new companies.
Okay.
You know, they know you, they have worked with you, they are now in a
Yeah.
new position, and you have a few offering for that. You know, public signals, you have user gems. So these people are most definitely um, more aware and more willing to work with that. The other thing that you should do is go after your personas. So if you are using Zoom Info, Sales Intel, Slintel, look at the promotions. Look at new hires. Whenever someone comes into a marketing department or a sales department, they want to they want to put their print on this, and they want to do things the way the things should be done. They will use different tools, and they will update their tech stack and bring in new vendors to help them do their job. Go after these people.
Yep. Yep. Is that like a? Do you recommend doing that on an outbound style?
You can do both. I mean, I always recommend omni-channel at all time. If you do only outbound, as I mean, think of it that way. If I want to get in touch with you and I only call you, might not work if you don't answer the phone. I call you SMS. If I ping you on LinkedIn, if I send you an email, left your voicemail and all that stuff, I have a higher chance of. So this is why I very much see the SDR, the inbound outbound is kind of, it's a very fuzzy. There is no real distinction in my mind now. They are both intertwined and work with one another very much so, especially for this. When you have a defined ICP, when you have well-defined personas, SDR is going to make you a much better marketer. They are my best friends. I love them, HDRs. Love them.
Nice one, man. Old customers, new companies, I like that. Any others that we should consider, or those the top few?
Well, they're at the top. I mean, there are all the things that do work well, but some of them are probably longer winded and more costly and harder to put in place. I mean, what you want big impact and the lowest amount of work possible.
Yeah,
That's why I always go after Google or go after specific audiences. Like, where is your audience? Go after these people, talk to these people, interact with these people as much as you can.
I like the list. I'm curious as to why you didn't add SEO or review sites.
SEO is always part of this. But SEO, so if you're a new company, startup, new company in the space, it's going to take time.
It will.
You don't have time when you have VC backing, or if you're bootstrap, they want to see results today. So I'm a big SEO fan, but I also know that you have these pillar pages, and you have to build these clusters of subjects. Actually, if you want SEO, I would say do SEO and use the Marcus Sheridan's approach. Marcus Sheridan, they ask
Oh
you
yeah,
better. Love that book, formidable. The guy, but it took time. But if you do this in parallel of doing all of the other things that we're talking about, yeah, go for it. This is definitely that will
depends on your resources, right? Like you say, if you've got
exactly
VCs or sales
exactly
teams wanting sales leads super fast, then if they don't
exactly.
have the patience, you need that,
And SEO is getting harder and harder because
especially in saturated markets for sure.
yeah, search engines are putting a bigger onus on the brand uh, now than they ever were. If someone has been in the space for a few years, there are a lot of domains that are linking to them for this type of searches. It's going to be hard to crack that one. It just will.
Hmm. Hmm. Review sites.
Review sites, yes, for sure. I work with them. I work with them a lot. There are a few that are really good. There is actually one that I like a lot for B2B selling. It's called Caspera. Caspera
Caspera.
allows you to compare. Actually, they gather all reviews from all websites, and they have these algorithms that basically ask you what is it that you want to accomplish, and then they match you with the solutions that are best fit for you. It's really really well done.
Mm.
So and it's as far as I know, it's not there is no incentives by the brand
Mm.
to get anything done. Like on G2, you're going to pay $25 for a review or any of this stuff. So it's I think it's a good aggregator for anyone looking at buying solutions.
Got
But
it.
yes, they are very much part of the intent playbook that I have that we work. So we work with a few of them. Whenever someone goes on one of the categories we're in, we want to know how often they are going on there, how active they are, and then we unleash our SDRs and our digital campaigns toward these people.
Mm. I like it. I have a love-hate relationship with review sites because they rank so well on Google, man. It's frustrating. Like the organic search results are insane. That's
Yes,
why they make so much cash. But the funny thing about review sites is that they don't have to do much in terms of content aggregation or population because all the vendors that sign up to the sites provide the content.
that's very true.
It's insane.
But
So then
it's shortest path of resistance. Brilliant. I mean, it's a
it's a
great model.
great business model, insane business model. And then vendors like us will spend thousands of thousands a month because we know they rank exceptionally well. We know they get traffic, and
Yes,
it's an easy way to get sales ops.
yes, yes. It is.
One of the best business models I know of.
It is, and like you said, SEO and this they compete with one another.
They do.
How do
They
you
do.
break this? How do you break this? It's yeah the prominence of these review sites. I
Mm,
don't know how you do that, especially if you're a new company. It's very very
yeah.
hard.
It's all in, well, when it comes to SEO, it's all in the long tail. Going after those more
Yeah,
niche,
correct,
specific, higher intent, longer tail search terms is the
correct.
only way. because you're just not going to beat the
Correct.
monsters. Cool, man. Well, look, we've gone on for some time here. It's been really interesting convo. We've talked all things. What we'll have to do is get you back, because we set quite a good scenario there for in our case, a B2B finance software startup with their demand capture motion. So we'll have to get you back on another time to talk about the actual generation, the demand creation motion, perhaps in a couple months' time. But as for now, Johan, we'll end it there. And I want to say thanks very much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. Really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
No worries. And with that, please do tell our audience more about how they can learn from you, how they can connect with you, and anything else you want to drive our audience to.
Connect with me on LinkedIn. This is the best way to interact with me. So Johan Abadie. And if there is anything that I talked about you want to know more of, just ping me, DM me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Nice one, dude. And we'll put that link over on the show episode notes over at businessgrowth.marketing. So with that, I want to say thanks very much for everyone to tuning in. As always, if you enjoyed the episode, a quick rating on your podcast channel, your audio channel is appreciated. Or if you do tune in on YouTube, a quick subscribe, I'd be really thankful for. And with that, we should catch you on the next episode for more no BS, actionable marketing tips to grow your business and grow your revenue. Cheers for tuning in.